I'll call the meeting to order. Um, We're missing a couple of members at this point in this designated.
Yeah.
The agenda tonight, we have two applications, the Readfield application and Jennifer Emberley. And public hearing first for the Triarchus application. And the other is a completeness determination. And then when we finish our regular business, there should be time at the end. Dana was kind enough to offer to do a tutorial for everyone on the Google email, Google Workspace issues that are before us. And so we'll talk about that. I'm sure. So first of all, the Triarchus application, several of us went to the site visit this evening, and that was very helpful. Thank you, Eric, for that. It helped put some things in perspective, I think. And at this point, I'm going to open the public hearing on that application. And typically, the way the hearing works is that there may or may not be members of the public that want to make comment or ask questions. And I don't see anyone at this point, and there may well be no one, but there will be an opportunity if someone should want to make a comment or question. So this application is to lift the camp and construct a new foundation underneath the camp. It also includes moving a bump out on the side of the camp that we saw tonight around to the back, away from the lake, and it also entails the construction of a new accessory structure shed to the back of the camp. And at our last meeting, you'll recall that we had some conversation about making a demonstration that the camp itself and the shed were located to meet the setback requirements to the greatest practical extent. The Triarchus have provided some additional information that Chip distributed a few minutes ago on that. And there is a revised site map that shows the location of the shed. Proposed to place that. So at this point, I think we would like to start. If you could, we have a there. You could come up and just summarize. I mean, we've talked about this, but for the record, application and major points, and perhaps just summarize the information that we provided to us that we got tonight. That would be helpful.
Okay, great. Well, first, thanks for coming to visit literally our tight-knit community down there. So as you can see, the association is really built on relationships. It's really important that we work hard at maintaining these relationships, given how close we are, the proximity, how we share the roads, we share the driveway, we share the septic and water system. So it's our annual town meeting is quite a raucous event to try to make sure everybody's on the same page in terms of what's happening. So I appreciate you guys having a chance to see it. As you mentioned, I think the major thing that we're trying to accomplish here, we'd like to lift and raise first we want to try to level the camp. And then I think subsequently, okay, and yes, can do, and then raise it a bit as well. And so very important, I think you mentioned foundation. I think it's important that we describe the foundation as not a full foundation. It is going to be, concrete pilings on probably a bed of gravel as we get into that a little bit as well, because the total access to underneath the camps is important to all the shared services that we have as an association. And you also mentioned the shed. One of the questions that we had the last time we mentioned is what was I anticipating for size? So looking at the subsection I guess it is, the shed can't be any greater than 80 square feet, and it can't be any greater than 8 feet high, so we certainly don't need anything that large. So tentatively, no larger than 40 square feet, and we would certainly keep it under 8 feet. I put 7 feet as a planning purpose, but it would be no larger, certainly meet within the 80 by 77 requirements. I think the key thing for us is that we think about what are the options for this camp, given that we are 50 feet from the lake and we are shoreland residents. What do the sides look like? And as you can see, if we were to move back 100 feet, and I put this in also on the second page of our article here, we are literally on top of our neighbors if there were to be any changes to the little side of the camp. So to us, the most practical, cost-effective, and probably the best thing for the area and for our neighbors, since we don't want to move the pipes, we don't want to move the septic tank, is to just try to preserve the camp where it is, raise it, level it, and then complete any other improvements that we can to maintain this for our kids and their grandkids. When we were here last time, Paula, you asked me to look at 3 sections. You asked me to look at Article 3, Section 4, subsection C, E, and I believe I. And the paperwork that we provided today kind of describes at least our perspective on why what we're doing meets with the requirements and the ordinances, and why we believe this is probably the least invasive options that we have for the camp. And we're looking for your approval to try to move forward here. But I have any questions? I tried to put all the data in terms of feet, how this all sits. So as we mentioned, the house is about 50 feet from the water. It's 8 feet from one side, 10 to 11 feet on the other side. The structure itself is 33 feet deep. So if we moved it back 100 feet, the lot itself is only about 50 feet wide there. And so with that 45-foot wide camp, we'd have under 5 feet on each side. So we would not meet to the greatest practical extent for the abutters on either side if we were to move the camp. This actually magically is the best place this camp could actually be away from our neighbors.
I'm looking at your revised site map.
Yeah.
It's how far from the water is the proposed shed?
It would be, the dotted line is 100 feet that you see there, and it's roughly 100 feet. It would be at least 100 feet back. So, just given there's a tree there, so we'd have to figure out where to go around it, but that would probably, I'm looking at about 100 feet back.
Okay. A similar question, but in the bullet points that you handed out as well, it said, if situated 100 feet from the have required setbacks on each side of the accessory structure. So
yeah.
I was the if that kind of threw me.
If we're going to keep, I don't have to do the shed. This is going to become a debate for a month. I'll do without the shed. We'll put it 100 feet back. So yeah, that's fine. We'll put it 100 feet back. Does it need to be? Or is it more important to be 20 feet from each side?
Well, I think, in the context of the land use ordinance generally, you have to pick a most important setback that's the one from the lake.
Okay.
But in that accessory structure piece, it does talk about one of the requirements being if you're going to locate a shed like that you meet the setbacks to the greatest extent practical.
Right. Okay.
And so if you can meet the 100 feet, that's the answer to that question. If you can't, then let's still discuss it.
Okay.
But if you can make it 100 feet, that's.
I think we can. I think we would work with that. Yeah.
That's the best situation.
I mean, we can work with that. I mean, not if we can work with that definitively.
So the driveway situation, you own that section that's on the property, but there is a right of way.
There is.
Others.
Yes. Yeah, part of the bylaws of the association is access throughout the association as well as the roads, so people can access and use as needed.
Paul, I have a question.
Go ahead, Jeff.
I can't hear very well, but was there a report on the site visit and whether it meets the greatest practical extent right now?
We did a report on the site visit. I mean, everybody chimed in that was there. What we saw was that it's pretty close quarters down there. And there are camps on either side of the Triarchus camp. They're very close, and you can see that on the site plan. And as Mr. Triarchus said a few minutes ago, there's only like 8, 10,
Right.
8, 9, 10 feet to the side property lines on either side. There is a septic system that is behind to the side of the camp, but very close. I think you said
9 feet from the
from the
house.
camp. And there are a number of very tall pine trees
Right.
out there that if you were to move anything, they would have to be removed.
Correct.
There is a slope from the driveway down toward the camp and the lake. It's not terribly steep, but there is a slope down from that down to the camp. When I looked at that property, Jack, my thought was that it would be extremely difficult at best to move it anywhere for any meeting. Particularly, since the thing that was foremost in my mind is that it appears that there would be, I think, potentially a fair bit of environmental damage if you tried to do that.
Mhm.
Removing the trees and navigating the area.
As well as the proximity to abutters, right? That's gonna get even tighter than the existing sites.
Yeah, unless, you moved it back on that angle, which would be difficult. I mean, it's still have the issue of trees.
Yes.
And so forth.
Right.
So others want to share their observations.
Well, my take was that, given what's proposed, I think it is in the best location. If you were talking about a full foundation and excavation and all that,
Agreed.
I would look at it differently.
Yeah.
But, than what you're asking for.
Thank you. I would agree with that too. If we were gonna do full foundation and redo the thing, then we'd be certainly happy to look at it, but that's not contemplated.
Dana or Brandon?
Yeah, it makes no sense to do that.
Right.
You have to mess with septics, maybe more than one septic tank, like,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think both.
And then create.
Then we'd have to move all the pipes for the association at the same time, which would
Yeah.
disrupt 12 other camps. at the
Yeah,
same
I mean, that
time.
camp's been settled in there for
Right.
70 years, probably.
Yeah.
It's not going anywhere.
Yeah, that's the other thing that we did see, Jack, that I found interesting is this shared septic system. There are this above ground piping that's shared and it runs between camps, as I understand
It does.
it.
And they must remain above ground. You know, we search yearly to look, we have to keep finding things that get covered to make sure that they are visible, so we can find them as best we can in the event of a breakage, so we're able to repair them quickly.
No, it just doesn't, I just can't imagine that camp for any reason. There's no net benefit Yeah.
No, thank you. We agree.
Um, So any other questions, planning board members? on Mr. Triano?
I have a question. So assuming that this is, I'm not sure what the process is to approve, and once approved, how do I get started, kind of thing, right?
We'll make sure to get to that.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, no additional questions. Unless anyone else does. I'm ready for a motion. So motion for
Second.
discussion. All those in favor? And Jack?
Yes,
Thank you, Jack.
And a motion on the application.
I'll move to accept the application as is and not require the individuals to move the existing structure.
So the motion is to approve the application.
subject to standard conditions.
With standard conditions.
Should we just, the risk of being trivial, to approve the application as supplemented by the additional materials?
Give that. Yeah. Okay.
Which would include the shed.
Right, terrific, thank you.
100 feet back.
Yeah, I know that.
So it's a motion. Seconds, discussion. All those in favor? Jack,
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you very much.
I appreciate it very much. Thanks. I appreciate you guys coming down. I think that a picture's worth 1,000 words, and I think that probably showed you what we've been trying
It
to
was very,
trying to
very helpful.
resolve here. So thank you very much.
So thanks for your help with that. In terms of next steps, we will need a building permit from Chip. So
Okay.
I would suggest that you just work with Chip
Okay,
as your plan comes together and he can work you through that next phase. And you will receive a written notice,
Okay.
a decision.
Great.
From the planning board.
Okay.
So,
thank you very much. Well, folks, thank you so much again for your time. Chip, thank you for everything, the coaching and showing me where to understand, how to understand the ordinances over the months. I appreciate that a lot too. So folks, it's been a pleasure. We love being a part of Readfield. So thank you very much for your time this evening. Thanks.
Good luck with your life.
You just turned them into bears. Thanks, folks. Nice meeting you all. Bye.
Okay, second application is Jennifer Emily. And this is an application for a daycare facility on the water. And probably the best way for us to start, Jennifer, if you'd like to come up and just give us a brief summary of what you're proposing to do.
Hi, I'm Jennifer. I am hoping to open a family childcare daycare in my home.
Jennifer, could you speak up?
Oh, yes, sorry. So yes, I would like to open a family childcare daycare in my home. I'm going to go through the process to get licensed through the state and follow all of their rules and regulations as well. And part of that is getting approval from the town and making sure that everything is in tip-top order.
One thing I didn't see in the written material was, any kind of description. How many children you intend to have, or if you're going to have any outside employees. That
Yeah.
sort of.
So legally, I have 2 children of my own, so I can have 8 in home, but my 2 children count. So I can have 6 kids between the ages of 2 and 5. Monday through Friday, whatever my business hours would be. But then if I choose to have infants, the number does go lower, which I don't really plan on doing in the beginning. So it'd be between probably 4 to 6 kids at a time. And then for staffing, right now it would be me and my mother-in-law would help out when I have appointments for my kids, and she's also gonna go through the process through the state of being background checked in.
Did you have any additional written material on this, Chip? Because I noticed a few things that were missing that are. You know, as part of our process, there is a list of items that we require for any kind of board review and application. And that includes things like the location of the property on tax map. A copy of the deed to the property that, you know, shows us that you have, you know, ownership rights or the right to conduct the activities on the property. It also requires a list of abutting property owners, people who live next door to you, because we would need to notify them of the application and give them an opportunity if they chose to comment on it. I didn't see anything about, one of the reasons I asked about how many children and employees is that could affect the number of cars coming into the property. So there is a piece in here about additional traffic that might be generated. It sounds like it's minimal,
Yes.
but I just didn't see it. That's one reason. And the other piece that I would mention is that there is a section.
Article 8, Section 5,
Yes.
page 60 of our, well, I did my homework. But I never read it before. One of the daycare facilities are.
It's
Page
on page
60.
60, and there is it's a list of, excuse me, this article is about performance standards and requirements. So there are a number of different types of activities. Daycare facilities is one of them, where there is a list of specific standards and requirements that need to be met. And I, you know, not that I think it's would be a problem necessarily, but it's a piece that needs to be addressed as part of our process. So it does talk about fences and that sort of thing. If they're going to be proposed, and there are certain situations where fences are required. If there are some, it talks about parking areas, safe parking and turnaround area provided for loading and unloading cars, et cetera. And so again, not that I think this is a problem necessarily, but it is something that needs to be addressed as part of our process.
Okay.
So I was looking for that information in the written application, I just didn't see it, so.
Okay, I did see the like the review questions on the application that
Yes.
I had filled out some of those, and it did talk about like the fencing and stuff like that, and I figured that you might have to have a site visit to determine what you guys would consider necessary for fencing in my property.
you set back off the road?
I'm off the road.
And it's, you know, it's a situation too where, you know your property. Better than we know your
Yes.
property, certainly, and the way that that performance standard is written. I think what I would suggest is you take a look at those performance standards and think about it in terms of, whether or not fencing is necessary or may or may not be. This speaks to buffering adjacent properties, and it speaks to safety.
Yeah.
You know, if you have maybe a stream or something, that would be a situation where I think there's there.
Mhm.
So, I would suggest that you take a look at those kinds of things and analysis.
Okay.
And, again, parking, vehicle access and so forth, that's part of this as well. And it also requires, confirmation from plumbing inspector that the subsurface system is functioning properly, so that's something. So, so others, questions?
You mentioned in your application you have a well.
Yes,
Is the dug or drilled?
I believe it's drilled.
Have you ever had any water capacity issues?
No,
How long have you lived in this property?
about 5 years.
And we'll see it eventually in the site visit. You answered the question that being off the road, but how far, what's your frontage approximately? Or how much distance you have from North Road to your house?
I'd say quite a bit. Not great with numbers, but oh goodness. Put me on the spot, maybe like 60 yards, maybe 70,
60 or 70 yards?
I would assume. I think we have close to 2 acres and our house is like right in the middle of our whole. It's a nice big rectangle.
You're far enough from the road, kids are not in the road.
Oh, yeah, no. And my intended area for the kids to be playing in is our back half of the house. It's surrounded by trees. And then we have our porch, and then it's just our mowed backyard. It's very secluded.
How far along are you in the process of applying for a state license?
I have to get approval from the town, and then I have one more 6-hour training to complete, and then I can submit an online 6-hour training.
How close are your neighbors on your side?
You can see my neighbors on the right side. They just built their house. But they're in the front, and then on the left side, there's some nice distance between us through the woods. Say maybe at least 200 feet, 300 feet on that side, and then way more on the right side.
And as I mentioned before, just in passing, we do need as part of the application list those abiding property owners.
Yes.
So that we can make sure.
As well as the tax map
And the tax.
and the deed.
And the deed.
So were you aware of any of these requirements or?
Not
No.
all of them.
Okay.
I knew about the questionnaire on here. And then I figured I would have to provide like my the acreage and all of that. I didn't know that I needed.
I can't, was that on the, is that on the checklist, on the, like, for the acres and the tax map? Well, I know these section 8 things are not.
Section 8 is like an additional piece.
Right, so that wouldn't be on our standard checklist.
That's not on the standard
Yeah.
checklist. But all the rest of it is on the checklist.
So there's standard things on the standard checklist, and then section 8 in the land use ordinance, you probably want to go in there and review those.
Okay.
Just to make sure, and then, maybe Chip can help you understand some of those things if you've got additional questions.
Okay.
You don't have to waste your time on another meeting and not have everything you need.
Because typically we'll see that kind of information that you just mentioned about what the property looks like. You've got 2 acres, and this is where the activity is going to be. This is where the road is, so
Yeah.
those kinds of markers usually comes from that.
Okay.
I have one more question, actually, I think this is you, Chip, in the application, it says that this is in rural residential. On the agenda, it says village, and I didn't have a chance to look, which is,
I believe it.
It would appear under our table of standards, the same.
in the table, it's the same, but it appears as 2 different things, and I just want to make sure we have the right one. I can look on the map, but I just don't have time to do that.
I had looked on the table, and I think that's what I put on my application, but I was trying to read it to the best of my ability.
Village ends at the recycle station, so on that, so. Would be cool.
I'm like two houses past it.
You on the left, or the right?
I'm on the left, if you're coming up North Road.
Are you gonna
Chip,
put,
could you check that and make sure we've got the right thing?
Are
It
you-
sounds like.
are you gonna put a sign up too?
Hopefully, yes.
Yeah, are you working with Chip to make sure that you get all that right too, and it's compliant?
If everything gets approved, yes.
Yeah, that might not be a bad idea, just to include that as part of the
As
overall
part of it,
package, so that we
okay.
don't have to come back.
Other questions?
Did I understand the plan is to, right now, your business plan is hoping for 6 unrelated children in the ages of 3 and
2 to 5,
2.
yes.
Are you not allowed to have them after they turn 5? So, I'm just curious.
Oh, it changes for ratio, so like I could have a whole bunch of different mixed ages, so like especially if I wanted to take on kiddos like after school that are older, I just can't have the same number of younger kids. It has to make
So depending the age determines the number you're
Yes.
allowed.
Yeah.
You have to kick them.
No.
I know from my neighbors, like there's a shortage of childcare
Yeah.
in the Readfield area. We really need more.
Well, as I look at this, I'm personally kind of struggling to find it complete because it doesn't feel like it is at this point. It's some additional information.
Oh, certainly. I apologize too. I wasn't aware of everything that needed to be brought today.
Yeah, and I wouldn't expect you to be familiar with all of this.
No, this is very new to me.
Yeah, another look at the checklist, things like, like that sort of thing on the checklist. And then, Article 8 of the ordinance, Section 5, that's where you define its performance standards that are specific to the area.
You just draw a map.
Yeah,
It doesn't
yeah,
have
just a
to be
hand-drawn,
Okay,
Survey and map. Just a property house.
okay.
yeah, and, distances to the extent that you can provide that.
Okay.
From the road.
Yeah.
Back, whatever dimensions. you
Okay, yeah, of course.
Other questions? So, if you want to work with Chip to get the rest of that material together, and then put it back on the agenda and take another look at the material.
Yeah.
Now we have a chance to get that completed. Hopefully we can put it on for first October.
Okay, yeah, that sounds great.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
No, thank you.
I'm sorry about that.
No, I know, I apologize. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Paul, I had a question.
For her?
No, for you.
Oh, okay.
What- There were so many things missing from this application. Why was that?
I have no idea. Chip?
She was provided with some of the things that you've asked for. I was negligent in making sure I followed up, but we did go over section 5. We did go over other things, but not bad.
I think eventually there'll be, as we get on down more information, folks figure out how to interpret Article 8, Section 5A about whether a fence is required all the way around and there's a road, or there's apparently her plans to have the kids only in the back, and her application suggests she only wants a fence in the back. We'll have to figure out what the ordinance means.
I strongly suspect that the fencing and barriers and so forth is probably a piece of the state licensing procedure as well. I'd be surprised if it wasn't.
I'll just tell you, 12 years ago, when I was a fill-in hearing officer for DHHS, boy, that is quite a process to go through when you apply for a family daycare license. And a hearing came up, they denied a license because the husband of the applicant had failed to reveal that he pled guilty to possession of a little bit of marijuana in 1972. And they claimed that was a material misrepresentation. I ruled against the department there, and I got upheld. But they are, it's quite a process to go through to get a license.
Then require you to smoke that.
Okay, so, Dana has offered to provide some information and clear discussion on the Google email and Google Workspace that we now all have access to. And not everyone was here. We talked about this briefly last time. And I did have some conversation a couple of weeks ago with Eric about implementing this. And one of the questions I asked him was, well, I asked him a couple of questions that were important to me. One was, is there any kind of written policy? Did the select board put anything out, or did he, about how this is supposed to be used? And my understanding is that there isn't a written policy at this point, but the principal purpose of it is to ensure that communications and records are available, particularly in the event of the frequent access request. And counting it in a single location under town account will obviously be a lot easier to gather information when those requests come in. So that's the principal driving force. Now, there are features attached to Google Workspace and so forth that can be used. And I think that in general, to the extent that individual members or collectively, we find that it's useful to use any of those features. You're there for our use, but we're not obligated at this point to use them. One thing I asked Chip was, I use Word for documents, and I'm just not, I don't like Google Docs. And there is not an issue with that. I mean, I would certainly convey anything via the town website. But you don't have to change your practice in terms of how you want to share that. And I think that another question that came up in my mind, Dana, you had sent you had marked up the minutes from last time and sent that out so everyone could get it. And I think that would be fine. We're going to do that, however. I think that you should be the originator of it.
Okay.
And be the controller of the document with everyone else feeding in. The other thing I think about that at this point is that I don't really think that, I'm not sure that everyone would be comfortable requiring that right now anyway, requiring use of that for providing document comments on minutes, for instance. And so I don't want to make that obligatory at this point. I think that people should have the option of providing comments.
And we actually don't have Google yet as staff members set up, so
You don't.
I'm dead serious. So the boards and committees are getting them before us.
Well, I just,
So-
so me,
I wonder why they would do, why?
I don't know. I don't know if it was easier to start with just the emails and then move the rest of us over, or, because I know we're still using our server.
It's still not simple because I signed up for notice the day, I said both lists.
Right.
Because it's on.
Thank goodness,
Yeah.
because I wouldn't know, have a clue at this point. And I apologize, but I'm going to have to leave in a couple of minutes. So having some health issues. So I'll have to be tutored at a future date about how to use this Google Docs.
Well, how hard do we want to push this, Paul, if like the rest of the town is not, I just showed you that as an example of how to collaborate. And,
We'll be on, it's just not there yet.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
So-
do we want to do it now or do we want to wait till it's more mandated?
Well, you know, I don't know that, there didn't seem to be any particular timeframe for no requirement that we use. There's a requirement currently that, you know, we should be using email
And that's
as soon as possible, and that's the most important piece. So to the extent that you're not into the new, you don't have your town email set up yet, is that correct? Okay. So that would be the first thing. And,
check on that.
We gotta get it.
Well, I think, Peter, you probably have the information you need
I
to set it
probably
up
have it in an email from Eric. I haven't done it.
in a text, and if you ever want me to walk you through how to do it, just send me an email and
I will.
we can jump on a Zoom call together and I can just walk you through.
That would be
it.
great.
And I don't know if there's anyone else who needs some assistance in setting up.
I mean, it makes perfect sense in terms of freedom of access that there be a system. And if we're in a board or a board member communicates with a member of the general public, I think that should be on that system.
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
definitely.
Yeah. So it's any planning board business that you can.
Well, plus if one of us leaves the board, the communications stay with the town and they don't stay in your personal email. That's gonna have to come and get you.
So that really is, you know, the most important piece for right now.
So I mean, I could take 10 minutes to show you enough to be dangerous for now, or we can just postpone it and wait till we're further along this process. I'm a fan of it. I work for a research and advisory company. We have professional editors. We were communicating through documents constantly, editing each other's documents, providing feedback to one another. It's a lot easier than email, and it's a lot easier than SharePoint once you get used to it. But I don't want to push anything on people that are not ready, or maybe there's a better time.
Well, two thoughts. One is that, you know, we occasionally have need to share documents, like when we were doing the law revisions.
That would have been so much easier in a Google Doc. And I know Google, it's a little bit of a transition to go from Microsoft to Google. It's not radical.
Yeah.
And the features that you get as a benefit of doing it are much, much easier, and it's
I mean,
easier.
you know, I've used it,
Okay.
I typically use Microsoft, but I've used Google. I can use it.
It's like going from a PC to a Mac. Once you go to a Mac, you'll never go back.
I use it.
It's beautiful.
So, well, I don't know, it almost sounds like, you know, it might be, if you have a few things that you,
Let me just show you a couple
Wanna
things,
share
Peter.
one, that'd be
I'll
great,
catch up with you another time, Peter, if you want to.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Okay.
oh, yeah, let's
The
do the
minutes, there
minutes.
was one thing in the minutes, I thought was
Oh, no.
just one thing, under the,
There.
practice.
Mhm.
I would delete the word strange before lot, strange lot shape, I mean, all those non-conforming lots down by the shoreline, they're all strange in a way. I don't think, I would just say the lot shape, I wouldn't say strange, that's just me.
Okay.
And Dana had provided, a few additional comments.
I just did Grammarly to it, and nothing made all the corrections to it.
And
It took about 2 seconds.
I
should just start
fine with
editing it
those.
thoroughly.
So there's Dana's proposed changes.
And to me, that they were just grammar changes,
Yeah.
I'm just showing it as a demonstration.
And then Peter's one comment about the strange.
I don't know how you would say that, like because it wasn't, it says the camp is about 50 feet from the water. The property has a strange lot shape, which doesn't allow for much, any change in the placement of the camp. That's true. I mean, how about irregular? Or, I mean, there isn't a regular lot shape.
Then you just cross out strange.
Okay, we could just say it has a lot shape, which doesn't allow for.
The lot shape doesn't allow.
All right, so I just. You have access to this, don't you?
Anyone else have comments on those minutes?
I didn't see this one. I did see.
Okay.
There's nothing else, I take a motion on the minutes as amended.
So moved.
Moved and seconded, discussion. All those in favor? Jack?
Check this thing thrown by the discussion.
Any objections to the grammar changes that I recommended to the team? No?
I don't. Jack, you still there? Okay, so everyone else is a yes. And Jack's a no.
Okay, then we go ahead. All right, so I do have something up on the screen right now, and I'll use the meeting minutes as an example. Once you go into Google itself, so just go to google.com, you'll have something on the upper right-hand side where you can log into a Google account. So you can say, I'm logged in as, I have 2 different ones. But this is the dtarian at readfield.gov one that I'm logged into. And once you get to that, anywhere from Google, you've got this 9-block grid up and off the right-hand side. So you can get to your account. To get to your Gmail account, you just hit Gmail. So Gmail will bring you right to the Gmail in the Google workspace. I see these couple buttons, these just showed up. These are kind of coaching things that it's suggesting that I do at some point in time. I probably will do that. But now all of my all of my email from correspondence regarding to the board is coming to and from here.
Dan,
Yeah,
what if you have, currently have a Gmail account, so you have two accounts, Gmail?
Too.
which I do have two Gmail accounts, so I can
Are
toggle
they
between.
integrated together or?
No, they
separate?
stay separate, so you can log into one and then you can log into the other so that they don't get
So
commingled.
are we all readfield.gov?
Yeah,
First initial, last name, readfield.gov.
yes. And then Stefan should have emailed or texted you a passcode.
He did, but I don't know where, but
Not Stefan.
I'm sure, I know.
Wow, yeah, that took me back.
It's not a huge.
I'm sure you can redo
Yeah.
it too.
But
I can look at Eric and.
what it requires now is that, check both. I mean, I've got two
Yeah.
So
Gmail accounts and you
what's-
have to look at all.
What's the significance of the code? To get into,
It will be your initial password and then it will prompt you to change your password to one that's more familiar to you. And then so have you ever used Gmail before?
oh, I have to.
Okay, so it's the same. The only thing that I noticed is that on my personal Gmail account, all my email addresses are in there, they're stored, they're saved, so if I go to type Paula's name in there, it comes up. It doesn't do this with it, they're all missing. So I went into contacts in here, so again, anytime you wanna go anywhere in Google, you just go to this 9 block right up here, and I typed in contacts. And I typed all of your names in here. I copied and pasted them. I think maybe because we're using this, if you do a reply all to everybody for an email, it might store it in there so that it keeps it. That's not.
The projectors.
Okay.
Terrible.
The other thing I did was I went in there and I created a label called planning board members. And I labeled all of you as a planning board members so that when I go into email, again, Google is all browser based. So if I go in there and I compose, I can go in and say planning board members. And it will go to all 9 members. You all just come up this way. That just makes it easier for me to send something to all of you. I don't think that we'll have a need to use Google Calendar. I went in there and created an appointment in the Google Calendar and invited you all to it, just to demonstrate that it's there at some point in time. We could, yeah, if you went in there and created and also you could kind of manage us with meeting
Right.
invites and things like that to make sure if we have a change in a meeting and things like that, it would be nice to be able to get invites and then we could always have Zoom and things like that on it. So I would say Google, Gmail is important. The calendar is in there. Again, you just go in here and you can go to the calendar option. It brings it right up. Should have had something, yeah, I had 2 things that were scheduled there. And then if I go into, the other one is Google Drive. And Google Drive is just really a shared drive. And that's when I started uploading different documents. Now, there's something called workspaces too, which I don't see the big difference between a workspace and just putting things up on Google Drive. But I created a workspace and I uploaded the land use ordinance and I uploaded the draft minutes to this week's draft minutes. Now, the nice thing about this is that I can go in and I can share this document. Right now, it's shared with 10 people. I'm going to hit share. It shows you the 10 people right now. Everyone is a commenter. Angela, are you on here?
I thought I saw my name earlier.
Okay, so now I'm making Angela an editor. So she can go in there and accept, share. It's gonna give me a warning because you don't have the same Google Drive. But now you can go in here and you can accept or reject the different comments. So if I just go in here, I change the meeting, okay, that's accepted, I accept it all. And now we have a fully edited document. That just took a matter of seconds. Now, if we were doing this when we were revising the land use ordinance, it would have been a lot easier and no version control problems or anything like that. Let's do one more, a couple of things here. So now this is fully accepted. Angela, you have a copy of the revised minutes, including everything.
Yeah.
This is giving me suggestions based upon Grammarly. I use that. But if I go in here and I make a comment, I double clicked on that, I add a comment, and I'll say, at Paula. I'm making this comment for a demo. And then I can just share it to you. So if you hit the at button and whoever you want to respond to it, and it will send them an email, it will draw them into it and tell them that there's something that you want them to look at. And I can also assign this to Paula so that she has to complete it, and it will notify me when she's completed it. So you'll get an email pulling people into the document. So Angela, you could go and upload all of the draft minutes.
Mhm.
You could assign them to all of us and say, please go in there and make your edits by such and such a day. Make sure you designate us as commenters and not editors, because if we go in there and edit, we'll change the document. But if you make us a commenter, that will give us the ability to make comments without changing it. So you can either make us a viewer, a commenter, or an editor. If you make us an editor, we will just go in there and overwrite everything. You won't know what happened.
You can't do any of that right yet, right, you know?
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
I think we are gonna, I think because it's like two separate technology upgrade type things that we're doing, and I think that this is just kind of separate. Like, we are going to Google, but for us, it's like we're changing everything over to Google, and I think it's mid-October that we're doing it in the office.
yeah.
But what I wanted to ask you about that is with the comments, if you can't do the edits, when you make the comments, then I would have to go in and edit those. There wouldn't be like the accepting. that
You could accept them or
show us.
reject them, or you could make
Yeah,
your
it's
own
just
ones and you
a
can
comment.
overwrite it, yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, yeah, the comment, you can mark it as resolved,
Okay,
yeah. So I'll just add Angela. Here is the comment. And now, what is it going?
That's her.
you probably, because that's.
Is that
mine.
you? Is that you?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's my one, yeah, currently.
So now you'll get that. Here's a comment, and now you can go in there and respond to that comment,
Okay,
reply to it, make other comments. You put my email address in there, I'll tell me that you replied. We can have a conversation in here now. And we can keep track of all that conversation. And then when we're done, you can just mark it all as resolved, or you can just delete the comment, and now it's gone. But it would just save us a lot of time. So if we're gonna go through another land use ordinance revision, I'll help you manage this part of it, and then we can pull everybody in. In terms of just the common commands, it's very similar to Word. I don't think there's anything that's really different. It's just about getting used to where all the different types. So I would say, get your email up and running, even if we're not using a lot at this point in time. I would recommend that we start collaborating on content together in documents if we're gonna do something major. And I plan to do as much corresponding from the new email address as I possibly can, just so I'm compliant with the land use ordinance, with the freedom of information.
Mhm.
Is that,
Eric,
is that wise?
That's wise.
Everybody's working together on a document or an issue. Is that not having non-public type meeting? We'd be discussing stuff one-to-one. Like right now, we can't discuss another issue. because we have a quorum. You're not supposed to be doing anything all together if you have a quorum.
I'm assuming that, what we're talking about doing here is working on documents, not having policy discussions on that. There's a difference. And, if two people are talking, some question about some language, I don't think that's an issue. But we would not, thinking back to when we revised the ordinance last year. Discussions, policy discussions that we had here. And ultimately, the documents reflected those policy discussions, but we didn't develop the policy through the exchange of documents. Documents kind of, they reflected the discussions we had.
Right.
But I think it's a difference between.
And again, this is what it's making me feel a little bit uncomfortable, because you are talking about, you know, cooperating on a document, whether it's about an LUO or a situation at hand, Menatoma or whatever, but there's an exchange of information going back and forth among 7 or 8 of us.
Well, we just can't do that.
Okay.
You know,
But weren't we doing that to a degree when we're exchanging emails with one another, talking about revisions to the land use ordinance for 6 months, for that 5-month period that we did that? What's the difference between doing it in email or just doing it in a much more efficient way where it's in a Google Doc?
I don't think we did it. We weren't doing it. We were doing it right here.
But we were passing documents back and forth
Right.
to each other.
and those documents reflected the agreement and the discussion.
But any
For the
changes
most part.
we discussed and proposed right here, where somebody could consider it right there.
And most of what the back and forth on the document, I think, was wordsmith.
Yeah.
Policy decisions, it was wordsmith.
So can we ask questions of each other online in the document? I mean, I'll
I
take,
would think so. I mean, we do in our emails and a lot of times those are in a file. But I can talk to Eric about it because that's probably definitely something that they're gonna need to talk about at the select board about policy with all this, with all these changes, I would imagine, so.
so
But I
now,
would think, yeah.
I think that's enough to get us started for this. If you guys have any questions, just feel free to reach out to me. Now, is anyone here, are you guys using ChatGPT at all? Are you guys using any kind of AI?
I do.
You know? Yeah.
Well, just to make pictures of my dogs.
Well, I do think, I think we had a pretty good example of somebody that came in here for a, you know, seeking approval to open up a daycare facility in Readfield. Now, that doesn't happen every day, but I still think it would be helpful for us to have a repository. If somebody went into our Readfield website and said, I want to open up a daycare facility, what do I need to know? So instead of them reading 115 pages of the land use ordinance trying to figure it out, like more of us giving documentation that say, here's what you need to know. I'm thinking about remodeling my house on the lake. What do I need to know? So let me just give you one quick demo. I'm gonna upload the land use ordinance from the town of Readfield into ChatGPT. Land use ordinance. Let's see how good it is. So now it's there. I say, okay, I'm thinking. About opening a daycare facility in Readfield. What do I need to know before I go to the planning board? So here are the days: outdoor play area, a safe fenced play area, adequate size must be provided, traffic and parking, health and safety, noise compatibility, you need to have site plan review material, a scaled site plan showing the building, parking, dropping off here. I mean, this is pretty decent. I wouldn't say it's gonna replace us, but oh, you guys can't probably read that, but names and addresses of abutters, the evidence of right title, everything that you said, Paula. ChatGPT is telling us that this is what you need. Documentation of a water waste system, a description of operations, including the number of children and staff, everything that we just told her that she needed in a matter of 5 seconds, and I didn't have to read 115 pages of the land use ordinance. So I'm not suggesting that we send our residents to do this on their own, although they could. What I'm suggesting is that we create documents like this using ChatGPT, throwing it out there and saying, hey, here's one for daycares. Paula, I mean, you probably won't have the most expertise in this, but everyone else has quite a bit too. What do you guys think that this get it roughly right? And we could be publishing these things in a matter of hours and not weeks and months of putting it together. It would be a great service to the community, I think. We would just need to think of the different scenarios that we want to create these for. We could create them in a matter of seconds, we could revise them, and then publish them and do them fairly quickly. And this is where the world is going. Just because we're a government agency doesn't mean that we have to stay behind. I mean, I think we should probably lead this stuff and be a service to the community. So I'm just throwing that out there as an idea, but you can see how quickly that happened. Like, so here's now, write a letter to Paula Clark requesting to open the facility. So now there's my name, there's your name, here's the subject, dear Ms. Clark, I'm writing formally request review and approval, blah, 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 blah. Article 8, Section 8, daycare facilities. I understand this requires planning group, board, site review, certificate of occupancy, whatever. Again, just a matter of seconds. So I think this could remove frustration. To me, it's frustrating to have a resident come here not prepared, having spent as much time as she did preparing for this. She's obviously nervous about the process. It's her first time going through it. We don't want to make her life any more uncomfortable than it needs to be. All right.
No, I don't disagree with you at all. I've fooled around with it. I haven't used it for anything real. But, you know, just.
Same.
I think we should test it. Like, well, I think if we could come up collectively with a list of scenarios and say, okay, let's create I don't know what we want to call all these things, a coaching document for all these, a simple one.
Yeah.
I want to put a shed on my property. What do I need to know? Well, it's intimidating. Like, it needs to be 50 feet from the road. Does it need to be from the edge of the road? Does it need to be from the center of the road? That can change. You know, how about our butters? How far from them do it need to be? What's greatest practical extent mean? Just give them more information so that they come to the floor.
You know, my only reservation is that I think we probably want to somehow, you know, insert a cautionary note, something like this, like capture every nuance and every detail that might need to be addressed.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff, and there are some complicated, we've seen some complicated situations that I doubt that something like this would delve into fully.
Yep.
And so if that kind of a disclaimer was part of it.
Yeah, maybe we should have the town attorney review it too, so that we, you know, people aren't considering it binding.
I mean, you know, I likewise hate to get into a situation where somebody said, well, I read your thing and I did this, and now you're telling me that something's different or something more.
Yeah.
And I just, you know, I want some kind of disclaimer for everybody. So
Would it all have to be updated every year with what they planned? You have to go back through and update them? I don't know how that works. I don't know.
Oh, that's a good question.
I mean,
bet
you
do.
could probably reference definitions back to the land use ordinance, because those are the things that change. I don't know.
well,
I
it would make,
definitely think you need to display that.
I think it would have to
It
be
may or may
updated
not have
too.
all the information.
Just because, you know, from year to year, it does change what kind of things we focus on. Like some years we focus on moving around entire articles.
you know, we have a lot to do with what we make changes.
I mean, the other thing you could do too is you can, like, if you had 25, let's call them guidance documents, if you had 25 guidance documents, you could upload them into the ChatGPT and then upload the new land use ordinance and say, tell me everywhere I need to make updates.
Mhm.
And it would do that.
Yeah.
I'll just throw that out there as an idea, just to make things smoother and easier, so we don't catch people unprepared, intimidated, frustrated by the process.
Probably, I think the town would well advise to seek the advice of its counsel, its attorney, as to whether, when we comment internally to one another about the document, whether those are public records. They may well be, or they may not be, and the attorney should tell us.
There has to be a rule somewhere, because this is not new tech, and it's nice to know.
Well, anything intended as a statement of policy obviously is, but a final product is. But whether our thoughts to one another about a document, whether they are public records, is not altogether clear.
So Angelica, you said you were going to have a conversation with
Yeah.
Gary.
Yeah.
Because obviously the select board.
Yeah.
Similar position.
And I'm sure other boards are gonna have similar questions pretty soon too, if
And
not already.
We can always. He doesn't talk to Kristen about it.
The AI is changing companies in mass way you can't imagine. It's gonna change companies in business. In big ways. Maybe a little slower, it's still gonna do it.
Yeah, I'll talk to him about the couple of, see what he thinks about, like, as far as commenting on the documents together. And then I can send him an email, just let you guys know what he says.
So, Chip sent us somebody's application. We all know about this. I'm under the assumption we don't discuss that on email,
Right,
right? We're supposed to be done here.
That's right. that's right. So for purposes of this new system, I think the important piece is for everybody to get plugged into the system and to start whatever communication there is. And there's, not a lot of collaborative communication about documents at this point in time, have anything going. But just, receiving material from Chip and, if there's anyone has a question for Chip about something they've received or haven't received, or questions for Angelica, any planning board business should be done off this new Gmail.
I mean, we could use Google Drives to create folders for each of the individual cases that we're reviewing. And put all the documentation from those, in those folders, so that we can all access them. But we're emailing them around now. You're not always sure you have the right version.
But it's kind of going back to 15 emails. Like we did with that.
Right, like, hey, go to the Google Drive. You've got the Stevenson cases up on the Google Drive under Stevenson.
So like clearly, if like, if one of us had spotted that, right, would it have been appropriate to say, we don't have, she should bring this to you.
Well, it would,
Or wait for the meeting for that.
it could be one of two things. I wouldn't communicate directly with an applicant.
No,
And usually what happens, there have been situations where I looked at an application and said, there's all this stuff missing, and I'll talk to Chip. And he'll go back to the applicant. Whatever needs to be done. But as individual planning board members, we can communicate directly with them.
no, but I'm say if I had caught that,
Yeah,
what I said, you would the email saying, we don't have all this stuff, or send it to Chip, or send it to the whole board, as long as it's just a one. I know that, right, no, for the future.
I
I don't know the protocol on that. The best thing would be just to tell Chip that.
Yeah, I think so, yeah, and I do that.
Okay.
Yeah, you could do that.
Thank you, Dana.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, if you guys, if you have any questions, just